Welcome to Freedom Fighter Net. I'm Don Klein. This is Freedom Fighter Net number 8. We're going to discuss the natural-born citizen issue. I've recently been asked to look at it from a constitutional standpoint. I've made a few notes here because this is a pretty complex subject and I want to make sure I get it right. As a constitutionalist, I was recently asked whether I thought Ted Cruz or Marco Rubio were eligible to assume the office of President of the United States if they were elected, and I thought, well, let's find out. Article 2, Section 1, Clause 5 of the U.S. Constitution says, in pertinent part, quote, "No person, except a natural-born citizen or a citizen of the United States at the time of the adoption of this Constitution, shall be eligible to the office of President." When the enemy agent and insurrectionist currently infesting our White House first took office, there was quite a bit of fuss about whether he met the presidential eligibility requirement of natural-born citizen, as set forth in the U.S. Constitution. One side of that argument claimed natural-born citizen went a lot further than simply citizen, because natural-born meant born on U.S. soil of parents who were both U.S. citizens. Other people said, where did that come from? The other side said, oh, phooey, natural-born simply means born on U.S. soil. A few low-information doofuses said natural-born means naturally born, as opposed to caesarean section, or hatched from an egg, or some such. I think we can discount that foolishness. Of course, no one on that side of the argument did any research on the subject. That's the nature of liberals. Generally, they regard the knee-jerk reactions as having the force of law. Well, there's a partial answer right there. Discounting doofuses, even under the liberal view, you have to be born on U.S. soil to be qualified for the U.S. presidency. Ted Cruz was born in Calgary, Canada. He may be a citizen by virtue of his American mother, but he's not a natural-born citizen, even under the bogus liberal definition of the term. As for Marco Rubio, he was born in Miami, Florida, of Cuban immigrant parents. So we have to dig a little bit deeper. It might depend on whether his parents were born citizens at the time he was born or not. In 2011, the Congressional Research Service waded into the fray after a certain cocaine-addicted mooching clown had been infesting our White House for about 3 years, of course, and produced a huge number of quotations, misquotations, and general flim-flammery, supporting the idea that there is really no difference between natural-born citizen and just any old citizen. But even the Congressional Research Service had to admit their research was not conclusive, because they could find no hard legal definition of natural-born citizen. Of course they couldn't. They didn't look. For all the research the CRS produced, the most obvious, certain, definitive source for the legal definition of natural-born citizen was conveniently ignored, and they never even mentioned it. Ever heard of international law? Ever wondered what some head of state is talking about when he accuses some other nation of violating international law? Well, what he is talking about used to be called the Law of Nations, until the United Nations renamed it, and it's a 4-volume encyclopedia detailing in very specific terms what constitutes a nation, citizenship, the obligations that nations have to their citizens, and the duties of citizens to their nations, and so forth. The first edition was written in 1758 in French by a Swiss fellow by the name of Emir Vattel, and was adopted as the international standard of law by every civilized nation of the time. At the time our nation was founded and our Constitution was written, Ben Franklin said that this book by Vattel, quote, has been continually in the hands of the members of our Congress now sitting, end quote. It was considered well-settled law, and it still is today. Our founding fathers even referenced the Law of Nations in the United States Constitution. Quote, Article 1, Section 8, Clause 11, the Congress shall have power, quote, to define and punish piracies and felonies committed on the high seas and offenses against the law of nations, end quote. Chapter 19, paragraph 212 of the Law of Nations says, quote, both parents must be the citizens of and the birth must take place in the concerned country, assuming that the citizenship inherited by this child and the loyalty are never changed ever after. End quote. That's the earliest recognition of the well-settled fact that natural-born citizen refers to a citizen born on U.S. soil of parents who are both citizens. The year was 1758. But that's not the only recognition. The first Congress, Session 2, Chapter 4, Section 4, in 1790, quote, and the children of citizens of the United States that may be born beyond sea, or out of the limits of the United States, shall be considered as natural-born citizens, provided that the right of citizenship shall not descend to persons whose father have never been resident in the United States, end quote. Then there are the Supreme Court rulings. The Venus 12, U.S. 8, Cranch 253 in 1814, quoted verbatim from Emar Vattel's Law of Nations on the definition of natural-born citizenship. Shanks versus DuPont 28, U.S. 3, Pet 242 in 1830. There are detractors who challenge this case and some of the others as not turning on the merits of natural-born citizenship, but the definition of natural-born citizenship is clearly stated, and the detractors base their challenge on the convenient confusion between natural-born citizen and mere citizenship. Minor versus Happersett, 88 U.S. 162 in 1875. Quote, the Constitution does not in words say who shall be natural-born citizens. Resort must be had elsewhere to ascertain that. At common law, with the nomenclature of which the framers of the Constitution were familiar, it was never doubted that all children born in a country of parents who were its citizens became themselves upon their birth citizens also. These were natives or natural-born citizens. And lastly, there is United States versus Wong Kim Ark, 169 U.S. 649 in 1898. It's another one. Now these rulings did not pivot on the issue of natural-born citizenship, but natural-born citizenship was explained in dicta. Dicta means clarifications of the rulings. Three more compelling points. First, the Marxist mafia infesting the United States Senate knew the real definition of natural-born citizen. That's why they introduced legislation trying to change the legal definition of natural-born citizen to mean anyone born on U.S. soil. They figured it would be easier to lie about Zero Obama being born in Hawaii than lie about his alleged father not being a British citizen. Second, the Supreme Court of the United States has never applied the term natural-born citizen to any other category other than, quote, those born in the country of parents who were citizens thereof, end quote. And third, the U.S. citizen itself is compelling of the Vattel definition. As quoted in the beginning, Article 2, Section 1, Clause 5 says in pertinent part, quote, no person except a natural-born citizen or a citizen of the United States at the time of the adoption of this Constitution shall be eligible to the office of President. Now, a citizen of the United States at the time of the adoption of this Constitution would have been a citizen, but not necessarily a second-generation citizen, i.e., he may have been born on U.S. soil or not, and he may have been born of parents who were U.S. citizens or not, but he was a citizen. If natural-born citizen was considered by the founders as the same as ordinary citizen, then why distinguish the two in the above clause? The answer is simple. Once the American Revolution was over, there was no way to tell where a citizen's loyalties might lie. So the founders determined that all future presidents were not eligible unless they were natural-born citizens, i.e., born on U.S. soil of U.S. citizen parents. So the only doubt on the meaning of natural-born citizen has to be coming from people with an anti-constitutional axe to grind, or from those who can't think in an orderly manner, and who are legitimate prey of wannabe tyrants who want to see the fundamental rule of law destroyed in favor of the rule of man. There's a lot of people like that. They're called tyrants. Given the disloyalties to America and our constitutional principles of liberty we have seen from several presidents, including the last 5, it is obviously not a perfect test, but it is the best one they had available. Unfortunately, it is now proven to be clearly inadequate to keep an enemy agent with a totally manufactured, almost totally sealed from public view personal history from gaining access to the most powerful office in the world, which he has used to destroy the first nation in the history of the planet to be founded upon private individual liberty under the rule of law. We are on the very cusp of losing our first nation in history, the first nation in history to be founded on the rule of law instead of the rule of man. This enemy agent infesting our White House and his Marxist mafia psychopaths in Congress and their bureaucrats are dismantling every liberty and rule of law our Constitution was created to preserve and protect. Very soon, American citizens will be called upon to choose up sides based upon whether they want to preserve our shining city on the hill of liberty on the hill or turn it over to the dark side for sacking and pillaging. The sacking and pillaging began in earnest in 2008 with the election of this first enemy agent. In 2014, Republicans were swept into office to stop it. It remains to be seen, and as of the recording of this video today, it began to look like the Republicans are not going to live up to their billing. They seem to be finding every excuse to cave in to the first enemy agent instead of doing their job, which is to uphold and defend the Constitution of the United States. I hope you're ready to find out what happens next. Have a good day.